Welcome back. We're here at Primordial Strength Gym, and I'm here with owner Steve Halmicki. Steve, thanks for having us here today. And we have Luca here today.
Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. We have a therapy dog on staff with us all the time.
Well, we've been here before, but this is a very intriguing place, and the skills that you teach and the way that you teach them are, I think, very, very interesting and very effective.
Yes, sir.
Can you talk a little bit about your gym and the approach that you take and fitness, strength training, and we'll talk a little bit about self-defense too.
Certainly. So we only do private and semi-private training here. We don't do big group training because we're fundamentally very involved in the specific structure of individuals' bodies, so we treat everybody like an individual. That allows us to apply the very specific science we're doing to a broad range of people, everybody from 2 years old all the way to 80, and then people that have any form of disability, especially with the way the facility is laid out, can enter the building. So we try to break down the muscle cell wall just enough each time for it to get stronger without a lot of that delayed onset of muscle soreness that people get from training other ways. And that allows us to not have a lot of chiropractic and massage services, and then people can attend to their daily activities without a lot of soreness.
And I guess that's an important thing, because we were talking earlier that, I mean, your goal is just that, to see improvements in individual performance, but without any kind of injury or pain or whatever it might be.
Yeah, because it's very simple from a professional standpoint to go the other way and say that we're going to train people to an extreme on a continuum and beat them down, and then that no pain, no gain mantra is something that's delivered to a lot of people, but it causes a lot of injuries over time. So we try to avoid that. I really function in this place from the Hippocratic Oath standpoint. We want to do no harm in here. We want to enhance your capacity to do your life skills or your athletic skills. So we're able to handle everybody from somebody that's post-PT all the way up to our best athlete, Chad Kelly. So we handle those whole ranges of people.
Can you talk a little bit about your background and the research that you do and the other people that you work with to gain that kind of knowledge?
So I was an elite powerlifter, had 4 world records. I'm in the Hall of Fame. In that time, as a very young guy, despite being educated academically in other areas, from the time I was a young guy, I worked under a PhD in the old Nautiluses, so even when I was in high school, I was on the edge at the beginning of when strength and conditioning coaches first came to the forefront. So I've spent the last 30 years or so involved in that level. When I started to get back and really do this as my life, I went back and studied very old Soviet studies that didn't tell you exactly what to do, but they were very specific strengths on how to break them down. So then we created a system after studying this for 40,000 hours and beta testing it across the entire board of that population that we just spoke about. And then we turned it into a textbook and a coaching certification. So besides being able to train in here with me, we do teach this and we certify. So St. Francis, St. Joe's, West Seneca East, West Seneca West, Lancaster, the Park School, are all certified in this, and including the U.S. Marine Corps uses it. So it's done on a sophisticated enough level to teach physicians, chiropractors, and athletic trainers and coaches, but it's also palatable enough that anybody with any skill level can come in here and be trained.
And you also do, I have to mention too, I'm looking at the science here, you address concussion issues, and you have breathing techniques for relaxation and things that you offer too.
So we have anticoncussion.com, which is our website. A study came out in 2013 that enhancements in neck strength play a huge role in the reduction of concussions. So we have 2 proprietary machines, and then the most machines as far as neck strengthening is concerned in the area. We're considered some of the preeminent experts in neck training. We have 2 concussion manuals out. In addition to the neck strength, we teach a lot of dissipation of contact force through breathing and through the elasticity of tissue. So it's a further preparation for athletics and allowing another safety layer for anybody that's playing sports.
Okay. Well, we'll be wrapping up in a few minutes, but and 2 things I wanted to cover. Just your gym in general, just briefly. It's really a unique place, eclectic kind of place with a lot of art and everything very interesting. your gym isn't the typical gym either, with the type of equipment that you have too. And that kind of goes back to some of the things that you said earlier. But.
Right. So I've been in the industry for a long time, and there's a lot of trends and fads that fall through this industry. We wanted to build a facility that if you came back and looked at it 20 years later, that all the equipment and the style and the methodology of training would still have relevancy from a scientific standpoint. So what you'll see in here is much of what is new on the market that's effective, but you'll see a lot of old, like 2 or 3 old Nautilus pieces, because over time in strength training on this level, there are pieces that you've come accustomed to or come across that fundamentally were the best pieces ever made over time, despite the increases in technology. So it was important for me as I put a gym together to have all of those pieces together to make it a very different place.
Yeah, it's really cool, very cool. Why don't we just have a few short minutes. We're gonna do a brief demonstration. I'm putting myself in a risky position here. But some self-defense?
Yes, sir. So we also teach Sistema here, which is a very ancient Russian martial art. I was fortunate enough to go to Moscow and also do Izbor and Volk training this past September. So much of what we're doing in here from the standpoint of martial arts concerned is stuff that most of Western culture has not seen. We'll just do a couple of small demonstrations of escapes from grabs, a little bit of knife and a little bit of handgun. As society becomes more dangerous, it's important for people to learn how to disarm or at least be able to flee from weapon usage. So Gary, you can grab my arms any way you want. So typically in a normal struggle, people want to fight and pull. From a Sistema standpoint, we're gonna give some tension back to the person, and we're gonna go from ice to complete water and relaxation. So the escapes allow us not to be bound with anybody, also freedom of movement. If a second, third, or fourth party comes in, I'm not completely tied up with Gary, and I can escape and move and either escape from the people that are coming in or further use the self-defense methods on those folks. In addition to that, knives are being used a lot in society right now as far as weapons to scare people. So much of the training we do is to get people accustomed to seeing these weapons pulled out, and in addition to that, to being able to have the capacity to take them from people. So we teach this on the level of the general population and also to the State Police Special Operations Response Team, which is made up of former special operators in the military. So typically, if somebody's trying to stab and move, much of what's involved with Sistema is to move the structure or the weapon outside of you, extend the person's body, pull, acquire the weapon, either dump the weapon or reuse it on the perpetrator. Handguns are obviously an enormous topic in society today. Sometimes used as a scare tactic, sometimes used to actually create lethal force in somebody. In this case, if somebody's holding this weapon, we certainly have to have the capacity, if we're stuck in this position and we can't flee, to be able to remove the gun. So in the same fashion, without a lot of posturing, without a lot of aggression, with very relaxed shoulders, the weapon is acquired, the force is put back into his hand. Usually his hand would be in the trigger guard, the weapon's removed. I now have control of the weapon. I can either discard it and run, or I can hold on to it and call police, or have to use it in case there was a true emergency going on.
And believe me, I learned earlier that when my finger in the trigger guard, it makes a difference when you have it there, and it made it easier. He made it easier on me by just holding the grip. But Steve, thank you very much.
Listen,
really
thanks for the
appreciate
opportunity to speak with you, and we really appreciate you guys coming here.
What's the best way to reach you?
So 716-213-8895. We still like to do things somewhat old school, and I will take personal conversations because I like to hear people's voices and do things personally. Also, primordialstrengthsystems.com, anticoncussion.com, and then coachhelmicky@gmail.com. And you're always welcome to stop by and come into the facility and have a conversation, and hopefully we can meet your needs.
Okay, great. Thanks again. We'll be back in just a minute.